Hello, my name is Jacob Torres, and today I'll present my refutation on Ashley's speech. First, I would like to introduce her claims. Her claim is that converting Election Day into a national holiday would increase voter turnout. Her three supporting claims are voter turnout in the United States is low, scheduling is a reason for low voter turnout, and how other countries are adjusting scheduling in their voter turnout. Although each supporting claim is excellently backed up with valid and current evidence, the first case issue I saw present was in this speech, was the main claim. That a main claim such as the one in this speech is purely theoretical, due to a lack of parallel or historical examples of said policy work, and I see the rest of the speech as being diminished in credibility and truth. Furthermore, the claim that there should be a national holiday for everyone to go and vote is full of faults and disregards numerous factors. Factors like other means of voting existing and are used, that in-person voting should not be the main focus to increase voter turnout, which I will later elaborate on. And finally, that no matter if there's a national holiday, put in place, it still will not work. The first supporting claim goes on to tell the audience that the USA is has the lowest voter turnouts in the world, and presents, or lowest in the world, like around the world now, and presents numerous statistics to show exactly how low said turnout is. The following supporting claim goes on to explain the previous claim and states that the reason for low voter turnout is the horrible scheduling the United States government has in place. That due to conflicting schedules that people cannot make to the ballots. The first problem I see with this claim is that voting in person is not the only way to vote. One alternative to voting in person is voting by mail. And according to the Office of California Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, in 2018, 67% of ballots casted were by mail. This diminishes this claim since in-person voting is less used than mail-in voting. Calling for change in person voting seems redundant, as it would be more efficient to optimize mail-in voting. Moreover, the difference in voting methods has not only been noted, but also been taken into consideration when states set up elections. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, at least 22 states have provisions allowing certain elections to be conducted entirely by mail. For these elections, all registered voters receive a ballot in the mail. This shows that states are actively working to increase voter turnouts via mail-in elections rather than changing the scheduling in election day. She then uses the latter end of this claim to introduce the next and final supporting claim, which is that making election day a national holiday would make lines at voting centers shorter, and as people will be able to be more distributed throughout the day, allowing more people to get their votes. As stated before, this claim is still theoretical. It can be connected to similar events such as holidays and statistics of workers during these national holidays. The main issue with this claim is that although a holiday can be put into place, that does not necessarily mean that everyone will be able to get out of work and go vote. Places such as jails, fire stations, and restaurants, etc. cannot have this day off, and will inevitably stay open on national holidays. According to the 2014 All-State and National Journals annual Heartland Monitor poll, a quarter of Americans will work on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve, which are all really important holidays, and people will still have to work. This shows that even though most significant holidays, people still work even those national holidays. The other pseudo given in this claim is that all schools will have off on election day holiday. Which will solve the problem is students not be able to go due to a school that they have to attend. But this is not the case for every school. Just look at the past 3 holidays that we here at Cal Poly had, and did you guys notice we still had school? You guys did. Schools have to plan everything before, and if some days simply cannot be missed, some holidays simply can't be missed. Like we have to go to school still. Looking past that, not all schools and businesses would not be able to have this day off or make such accommodations for an election day holiday. School or work is not all that people have to do with their schedule. Some people have kids they have to drop off, so they have to do all this stuff with their family. It's just not the only thing that's holding people back from voting. And other events in people's lives occur that can't just be pushed off. Final claim is not much of a claim in and of itself, but rather a comparison or sort of call to action. It shows rough solutions to voter turnout in other countries, and it is applied that if these were applied in the U.S., that it would just work. This generalization is extremely vague and does little to support the main claim, as my opponent disregards changes from country to country, such as overall types of government, the lifestyle of people, and the differences in government. In conclusion, I think that the main emphasis of voter turnout should be on making mail-in voting more prominent than in-person voting. Thank you.
All right, the structural things are okay at the beginning. You kind of have a generic discussion of what the problems that you see with the argument are before you get to the particulars, suggesting that it's all kind of theoretical and that we don't have parallel cases for that. The parallel case argument is going to be made on that third point when you're suggesting that the other countries aren't really models for this sort of behavior in the U.S. On the first point, you might as well acknowledge that we have low voter turnout rates sometimes. I mean, I don't know that you gain anything by challenging that. It's the second argument that I think where most of the dispute is on, and that is that the voting is affected by a lot of things that have nothing to do with scheduling, including, for instance, we know that that's true because so many people can vote without having to vote on election day. I thought you had a great statistic about the California election in 2018 and the number of people who voted by mail. You had information that talked about how a number of localities and states are trying to eliminate having to go out and vote entirely, and they can do all of the election by mail. There might be some discussion about other things that could be done and have been done to increase voter turnout. I'm not sure that that has been particularly effective, but that's the problem. I'm not sure anything would be particularly effective. You could point out that every time we take these actions, there's a lot of talk, but there's not necessarily an outcome that we can say that makes it worth the effort. I do think that you have a very good challenge to the notion of the holiday, suggesting that a lot of people do have to continue to work, and so it's not going to benefit them in the long run, and that the scheduling thing is not necessarily about work schedules. There are other schedules that people have that cause conflict with their ability to vote as well. I think the advocate has made a big assumption here that scheduling just means the day of the week or the time of the day, when in fact it could mean a whole variety of things. And I did think, like I said, the comparison between the other countries and the U.S., I think that needs a lot more development. You kind of just generally suggest that there might be some reasons that they're not comparable. I think you need to make that argument a little bit more strongly. All right, thank you.